and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him.
Hey, it's that time again. It's time for Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride, Zoom and Pod. Jeff, as we know, is deep into the NCAA season. We will see him someday soon. PrizePicks, our exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Okay, Bob, Rajon Rondo. Boy, what a career, what a character, so much to talk about. After 2 years of not playing, he has finally called it quits. Where do you want to begin on Rajon Rondo?
You start with Doc's insistence when he was here that quote, Rondo's the smartest player I've ever coached, unquote.
Right.
We all rolled our eyes, and I still kind of do. He was it's just interesting observation from Doc. All right. Rondo was a very specifically interesting special player. One of the two greatest 6'1" rebounders in NBA history, the other being Fat Lever. And this enabled him to appear among the all-time leaders in triple doubles. He is number 16 on the all-time list, which is I'm talking about which is current, including active players such as Jokic and Doncic. He was electrifying in his peak here. He was such a special ingredient in those great teams with the big three. I remember right from the start there, his first year in 06-07, he was playing behind Sebastian Telfair. And every time he'd get in, the game would be lit up. It was different. And I'm sitting there thinking, I want to see more of this kid. And it only took 1 year. The next year, he is the quarterback of a championship team. And a very important component on those teams. And the little brother, though, I will always forever think of him as a kid, and he's 38 years old now, you know. And by the way, he's been retired for 2 years. He's only officially announced his retirement, but hadn't played in the league in 2 years. But now he's officially done. Did you know that after leaving the Celtics, he played for no fewer than 8 teams, including the Lakers twice? Now, I knew he had bounced around, but I did not know it was that peripatetic, as we say. Anyway, he was a special player. He wasn't a great outside shooter. He could make one every once in a while. He'd get a little streak, but what an extraordinary ability to go to the basket. And of course, he is a 3-time assist leader in the league. He led the league in assists 3 times, led the league in steals once. It was 4 All-Star games. It's not a Hall of Famer, but in the Celtic lore, he occupies a special place. There was nobody quite like him, you know, stylistically, which is true. A lot of guys, but you don't. I don't know in the league you compare him to now, and the only other guy you could have compared him to at the time was Fat Lever, but Fat Lever didn't have the flair that Rondo had. You look at some of the numbers he put up. You know, time goes on, you forget some of the playoff game numbers he put up with not just 13, 10, 11 kind of triple doubles. We're talking 28, 17, you know, 13 kind of stuff. And but he was headstrong. And you know what happened in Dallas? He goes to Dallas, and he butts heads with Rick Carlisle, who's the coach, and he gets benched. And I'm going to get the details just so I don't misspeak here. In the playoffs, he was benched after game 2 of the first round. He didn't play as they lost in 5 at the rest of the series, and reportedly was not voted a playoff share by his teammates. Now that's a unconfirmed, but it's out there. Reportedly, I say. And that didn't end well at all. And from then on, he went from Dallas to Sacramento, Chicago, New Orleans, the Lakers, Atlanta, Clippers, Cleveland, and stick another time back in with the Lakers. Unbelievable. But the summation is he made a valuable contribution to a championship team, and we know that team could have won 3 in a row, and he was very much a part of that. It's a shame that it didn't end the way it should have here, but based on the way he bounced around after that, apparently everybody got tired of him quickly. And that was his own fault.
He was a basketball genius.
Well, Doc would certainly agree with you.
When it comes to genius, there's complications with that. Now, I don't know his Mensa score. I don't know if I can officially say he was a genius.
Yeah.
But with the genius ability on the floor, I believe comes complications.
Mm-hmm.
I fell in love with Rondo the moment I saw him play. And we had him in the studio and we talked to him. And I remember up at Comcast Sportsnet, we all started to talk because we started to see the same thing you did. And we said, this guy's the guy. We started to see it, because we were coming to Celtics. We were there all the time. Donnie Marshall would see him in practice. We said, this is the guy. And he was very conversational, very easy to deal with. But as time went on, that changed. And I'll tell you a story. It was during I can't remember if it was the 08 championship or the 2010. No, it was the 08 championship. We were in at the Beverly Hill, at the team hotel, whichever one, the Wilshire in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I was with my wife, and what a day. Sidney Poitier walks by. And me being a movie buff, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like, oh my God, that's Sidney Poitier. Everybody's looking for the Celtics. And I'm like, my God, that's Sidney Poitier. And I said hello to him, Mr. Poitier. And then Perk came walking by. I was like, hey, Perk, what's up? And they had lost that game. Maybe that was game 3. And I said, what have you been doing? He says, Rondo and I were up watching the game till 4 a.m. Perk was really Rondo's rock. When Perk left, my observation, something was missing for Rajon. And as we came to learn, when Perk left, a lot was missing emotionally with that team. Perk was very important to that locker room. He was very important to Rajon Rondo. He was able to keep Rondo in line, if you will. Because and then when Garnett left and Pierce left, that's when Rondo kind of lost his way. And there was no anchor for Rajon. I always felt very sympathetic towards him because, I observed him a lot. I was there. I watched the guy. And these are only my observations. And I just felt like he was searching for something. He was looking for something. I felt bad for him. Some people became irritated with him. But I saw a kid that he just needed something. And he couldn't find it after that team left, especially after Perk left. And he was never able to find it again. And I really felt bad about that because that led to the behavior we're talking about.
Well,
and this is the genius part of him. I believe that Rajon Rondo was probably the worst shooter that could control a floor in the history of the league.
That's very good.
He really could, Bob. It was amazing. He could control the other 9 guys while having a shot. And I felt he could have been the worst shooter and ever make the Hall of Fame if he had continued on the path.
Yeah.
I loved watching him. Boy, when he was on, he was something else. But when he was off, and I was there with this when he was off, he had some off the record, I can't say, but he had some moments behind the scenes, the coaching staff after, and he lost his way. And it's just a damn shame. I think it's one of the all-time shames of the league. Because as you just eloquently said so well, he was a master to watch. He really was. Without a jump shot.
You know whose observations I'm curious to get, and that's Brian Scalabrine. He was a teammate on that.
Right.
Now I'm sure he'll be heard from. Sadly, he's run up with legal troubles the last couple of years. I won't go into the details.
Right. Because we don't.
Anybody wants to Google it, you can Google it.
He's had some troubles. Yes.
I don't want to dump on him at all in that regard. But there's facts, But it's a special career. It is a unique career. He's
an enigma.
His style of play, but boy, at his peak, it was a joy to watch.
He really was. I mean, he was something else with that group.
And by the way, he is the all-time Celtic playoff assist leader, more surpassing Bob Cousy. He should always be remembered. When the discussions of prominent Celtics come up, we will make sure we include Rajon Rondo.
PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is so easy to play. I can make my Celtic picks and make my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals and easy gameplay and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. Celtics and NBA fans, you can get in on PrizePicks in 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. On PrizePicks this week, I'm selecting Jason Tatum to dish out more than 5 assists and his teammate Jaylen Brown to have more than 22.5 points. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit matchup to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. PrizePicks. Moving on to the big story of the week. It's the NCAA as Caitlin Clark in Iowa advances to take on UConn. And wouldn't it be just like Gino Auriemma to spoil the party and come out of nowhere? But let's first talk about the LSU-Iowa matchup and her 41 points in that game.
Well, she started off immediately making a 3 and getting your attention. It was a masterpiece game. She's at 41 points, 12 assists. We're used to those pull-up. She pulls up, really, when she crosses midcourt, you better get your hands up. You better get it. I mean, it's Steph Curry. It's the female Steph Curry. Her range is Steph, and it's legitimately Steph Curry range. We're not talking about some scaled down version of basketball. Fact of the matter is, it's 94 by 50. We'll get into that controversy about the 3-point lane and the women's and all that nonsense in a minute. But she pulls up what they call the logo shot now, and apparently now in Iowa at Carver Hawkeye Arena, they've got a marker now where she made the basket that broke the record, which was from about 30 feet. So anyway, it was a virtuoso performance when most needed in an important game. But they did have the help, the auxiliary help she needed. Kate Martin and others stepped up and had good games. As we learned we learned this team to see more. I've seen this team play how many times this year. So it's amazing. I X'd yesterday, by the way, Garrett. I have had more casual conversations about women's basketball in the last week, just moving around town, than I've had in the last 50 years combined. I mean, you go into this. You go into a store. Hey, did you see the game? You go into the deli counter. Hey, did you see the game? Yeah. And that game was the Iowa. It turns out it was the most watched women's game ever. 12 million people, and it was a high level game. And now one thing I must give full credit. I mean, there was an asterisk attached. Angel Reese got hurt. She gutsed it out and came back, but she was 2 for 12 after she came back. And she still got her share of rebounds. She had 19 rebounds. She's very good, strong inside presence. You don't know it at full strength, how she would have played, but that's a shame. I feel bad about. I hate that what I call the loose ends. It's kind of a loose end in that game that what would have happened if Angel had stayed in. Anyway, it was a high level game, and it was an excellent basketball game. And Caitlin, the caravan, the circus, whatever you want to call it, the show moves on. Now it moves on to Cleveland, and the semifinal game, which is what we wish were the championship game. Frankly, is going to be UConn, and it's a different UConn team. Gino has never taken a team like this, going back to 1995 when he had his first one, championship. So battered, and he's only suiting up 8 people. Apparently, and the starters get heavy minutes, and it's all about Paige Beckers now. She's back after missing a whole season, and the idea that these two glamorous players are going to be battling one-on-one, and it will be a subplot, and they will wind up guarding each other at times, I'm certain, and it's going to be great to watch. But Paige Beckers is reminding everybody, hey. I was the best player 2 years ago. And of course, and it's this is so good for women's basketball. It just is, and it's not just those two. Too, we got Juju Watkins at SC, and we've got Hannah Hidalgo at Notre Dame. We've got up and comers all over the place. So that this sport is really booming.
Does it continue with Caitlin leaving?
Well, I hope so. I think that it's going to be interesting. But the attention is focused, and yeah, I think there's going to be some residual. But she's special, of course, she's special. But there's no reason why we can't have high level players. And
well, I think it will continue because of, and we've discussed this with Caitlin, because of the ability to make money in the marketing with sports. Where you have, commercials, films, movies. There's other ways for players in the women's game to be put out to the public, and I think that that's huge. And I think that they'll benefit from it greatly. And there's something, Bob. There's something about being a fan. It's kind of lost a little bit. It's very hard. I guess you could go back to it's not really David Stern. It's to the point now in sports where you become a fan of the individual as opposed to the team because of player movement, certainly because of the men's game, the way players have moved in the portal and so forth. So you become a fan. In the college game, you'll look at Caitlin Clark. It's 4 years at Iowa. You've had a chance. You have a bond. I'm a Hawkeye fan. That's it. I'm with this team, or I'm a UConn fan. And in college basketball, you just don't have that for men. And you have it with the NFL because player movement isn't as, Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. I just think it's one of the benefits of following NCAA women's basketball is if you fall in love if you like a player, they're going to be there a while.
I mean, there are transfers, but it's not at the level of the men's, and you're absolutely right. And in this case, this is the ultimate example of it. And in both cases, of both Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, no, it's great. So this is a big moment in women, not just women's college basketball history, but women's sports history in general. The attention's being focused, as I said. It's just amusing to think these conversations that I just alluded to a few minutes ago were not possible even 2 years ago, let alone 10 or 20 or 30. It just weren't. And I've had fun next to with people, sparring with people about this and pointing out that though these players are great and we love them, that I still have not seen a better pure point guard in the women's game than Dawn Staley herself. And I know I have not seen a better post player than Lisa Leslie. And as good as Angel Reese is, she would benefit by taking some lessons from Lisa Leslie. She's a great rebounder, but she's not the scorer that Lisa Leslie was. And I just want people to remember these players that have existed. And everybody's saying Cheryl Miller. Yes, of course, Cheryl Miller. Diana Taurasi, who's still with us, and all that. Sue Bird, better than Dawn Staley. And I'm saying, we're having arguments about women's basketball. How great is that?
Right.
I mean, that's the coolest thing that we were having these discussions. So this is just a great time, and I just hope they can take proper advantage of what's happening.
It'll be interesting to see if it translates to the WNBA.
Oh, well, bingo. Because thus far, it flies so far under the radar. People can't tell you who won the championship. I forget who won the championship.
And it's off season though, too, right?
Las Vegas, I think. But yeah, it is. It's off, and it's competing with baseball and football, which never goes away now.
Right.
As football was 12 months a year, we're getting ready for the OTAs, followed by the mini camp, followed by training camp. It ain't that far away, folks. And the draft first. The draft, which is one of the great conversational topics in American sport now. It's becoming.
Did they trade number 3 or not?
Yeah, oh my God!
I mean, come on.
And we got a lot. We still have 2 weeks to go, plus before that draft takes place. We're over 2 weeks away, but it's been the dominant topic of conversation for 2 months already, and it's got another couple of weeks to go. Anyway, so yeah, the WNBA. That's will it translate into that? We'll
see. We'll see. We lost a very important person in Boston sports history, and Larry Lucchino. I really liked Larry. I did not have battles with Larry. Like I'm waiting when Dan feels better. I'm waiting to see if Shaughnessy, I'm sure, will have something to say, because Larry was the best. And I just want to start by saying, when these carpetbaggers first came in to buy the Red Sox, we were apoplectic.
There were air
come
quotes
on
on that line, folks. Air quotes. Okay, go ahead.
They were what?
Air quotes.
Yes. Oh yeah, air quotes.
Folks, there were air quotes on that line.
Yeah, air quotes.
Just want you to know that. Okay.
Yeah. But yes, thank you for the podcast. Werner was a Hollywood guy. Larry was out with the Padres. John Henry had owned the Marlins. What are they doing? Coming in buying the Red Sox. You can make the statement that off the field, Larry Lucchino was the best thing that ever happened to the Boston Red Sox.
Well, in the 21st century, that's for sure. And starting with the ballpark, but also starting with importing a young lad, a young whippersnapper, up and coming executive named Theo Epstein, because Theo is his protege, and he brought him in from San Diego and hired him out there to start with, the Yale kid. Absolutely, Larry Lucchino. First of all, was an athlete. He was a standout high school baseball player and a standout high school basketball player, who was the backup point guard on the 1965 NCAA third place team, Princeton University, Bill Bradley's team. He was Artie Highland's backup. He was an attorney, a graduate of Yale Law. His entree was he was hired by the law firm in Washington, headed by the legendary Edward Bennett Williams, whose autobiography, and his biography is entitled "The Man to See." He was the power broker of the whole Democratic Party establishment and in the downtown in Washington. And he became very much Bennett Williams' protege. And when Edward Bennett Williams bought into the Redskins, Larry got his entree into professional sport. So he now is the only person in the world that had an NFL championship ring, a baseball championship ring, and a Final Four watch or ring, whatever they give him. Okay. Then when Edward Bennett Williams bought the Orioles, he brought Larry with him, and that was Larry's entry into baseball. And from then on, he went to San Diego and to Boston. He was a visionary, and one of the visions he had was what a ballpark should look like. And Camden Yards was a revolutionary park that was the first of the new wave of ballparks was built, and he had, however, had the foresight to hire this woman architect. I shouldn't name Janet Marie Smith, who should be in the Hall of Fame herself. By the way, I'm hardly alone in saying that. To design this new ballpark, and it was revolutionary, and it changed the whole idea of what ballpark construction would be for the rest of the time. And that's how he made his initial name there. But he was, there's all kinds of great stuff out there for him now. You got to read it. Tough negotiator, but a very witty, charming guy. But driven, yes, but he just got it, folks. He just got it, and he proved it in 3 different places. And 4 if you go to Worcester with the
they did a great job. I mean,
and that ballpark, by the way, once again, is a state-of-the-art treasure. That new Polar Park,
right?
It's a wonderful place to go to a baseball game.
From Dan Shaughnessy's book with Tito Francona, which, by the way, if anybody hasn't read it, it's a must-read. After the Red Sox reverse the curse and they win the World Series, right? Mm-hmm. And they're going to have the whole thing at Fenway Park, and Terry Francona is like sky high. Larry coming in with a box of sweatshirts. Tito, you got to have the players wear their sweatshirts or selling them online, right? That type of thing, which is, that was Larry's the business guy.
Business.
This is it. This is a cash flow. And Terry's like, God, Larry, come on, man. It said 2004 World Series champs, Boston Red Sox. I want every player wearing them. I want them out there. We got to sell these things. And like Francona was like, I don't want to deal with this. But I never thought you could make Fenway an attraction the way they have. It's amazing. From the bleacher seats to the right field, Now, the seats are always going to be small. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
But what Larry did with that ballpark was amazing.
You know,
It's amazing.
the theme, Larry and Janet Marie Smith, once again, she executed this, and she, I remember Larry, his mantra was, do no harm. Do no harm. Make sure that whatever you do no harm.
Right.
I objected to the monster seats. Thought it was silly. You know, I still think, by the way, people, if they want to sit there, fine. It's a glorified beacher seat, but you're sitting over the wall, and that matters to people because I'm sitting over the wall. Period. Good. It, you know, but I've
It's kind of a bucket list thing, Bob. Believe it
Yeah.
or not, it's a
I know.
bucket
Well,
list thing.
funny, the first year of the seats, they had no idea what to charge. They didn't know it was going to be as popular as it was.
Yeah.
I think they were like $15 or something. Yeah, I don't know what they are now, but you get charged by the tier, first row, second row, third row, right? Yeah. Anyway, but I was wrong, totally wrong. Right? Why? It was an instant hit, and that was Larry wanted that. There's so many specifics we could go into it with the things. But he butted heads with people. He butted head Theo, his protege. They wound up having a dispute. Theo left, but he did come back, and then they had 6 years of I would say getting along rather than
Well, Larry also realized, and I think this is, I don't know if it's part of the debate with baseball today. Larry realized that, yes, you had the sabermetrics, and, definitely the 07 team was more of a Theo personality than the 04 team. But Larry realized you had to spend some money. We had to get some names in here.
Mhm.
We had, so it was a combination of, Ortiz wasn't that kind of fell into their lap, but, you needed the big names too. You needed the Manny Ramirez and the Ortiz and the Beckett's to go along with the Papelbons and Lesters, who eventually became stars.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember about Larry was, we still need to give we need some big names here to give people a reason to come to the ballpark.
Yeah. He just got that. He got it all there, and it was remarkable.
Maybe the one swing and the miss was probably Bobby Valentine.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
That didn't work.
No question. That was terrible. He's the man who memorably labeled our competitors down to the south as the evil empire.
Terrific.
Which drove Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner hated him. That was great. He made a wonderful enemy in George Steinbrenner. Now I note that among the tributes that is received in today is from Randy Levine of the Yankees, who commended Larry as a very worthy adversary and enjoyed the competition with Larry. He had the effrontery to play the Red Sox on a level with the Yankees, and so in the 21st century they've been better than the Yankees overall. So yeah, the tributes are going to be coming from everywhere.
Yeah, he was brilliant. I mean, I thought he was going to be commissioner at one point, but maybe, I don't know, he might have been too opinionated to be commissioner. But, Larry was like, he was a P.T. Barnum, because it took somebody from Baltimore to call the Yankees the evil empire.
Yeah.
Think about it, Bob. I mean, you're a Bostonian. You came here, you went to BC. I mean, I lived here all my life. You've been here for pretty much all your life. We had this inferiority complex with the Yankees.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just couldn't get over it.
Sure.
Just couldn't. And here this guy comes in from Baltimore/San Diego, and he's the guy to call him the evil empire and finally stand up to him, and is part of the reason that we finally beat the Yankees. It's crazy. The evil empire thing is great. I mean, that's legendary.
I gotta tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, a little story. So when I had a podcast of my own, Bob Ryan Boston podcast, a number of years ago, 2017 to be precise, and 18, I had Larry Lucchino one day, and it was down at the Boston Public Library. And in preparation for it, I wanted to, I started off by referencing the 1965 Providence Princeton game in the Eastern Regional Final. Final score, Princeton 109, Providence 69. And of course, as a BC guy, I hated Providence at the time and feared them. Larry was on that team, of course. So I started off by referencing that. getting the interview off to a wonderful start. He was so happy, beaming about that one. And we got up to that, so that's all. It's available out there, folks. So you can go find it. The Bob Ryan Boston podcast with Larry Lucchino. It was fun. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, he feared no one. He really did. Very important. Very important. Like our old friend Jerry Callahan, he'd have battles with Dennis and Callahan on the radio show. Yeah, he didn't back down from anybody. Very, 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 like you said, brought in Theo. Changed the culture. Changed the culture here in Boston. All right, Robert, anything else on your mind?
Well, yeah, we got a very, as we speak, we are speaking on a Wednesday morning at the moment, and there was a very interesting game. The Celtics finally back home after a 6-game road trip, and they're playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are in a torrid Western Conference race. They are tied with Minnesota, 2 games behind the Denver Nuggets. And this is a visit bringing MVP candidates Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to us, and SGA, as he's popularly known. And we're going to get to look at Chet Holmgren, and who is falling a bit behind Victor Wembanyama in the Rookie of the Year thing now, after he was definitely in the lead at Thanksgiving or Christmas anyway. But giving us a solid 16.7 rebounds, 3 assists game, the string bean from the state of Minnesota. And so it's going to be a game I'm looking forward to, and to see, how they're going to react and how the Celtics are going to react. But it's good that this franchise, which still, in my opinion, ought to be in Seattle, but that's another story. It's been well received by the people. I'm happy for the Oklahoma City fan. They've been greatly supportive of this franchise, and I hope they're enjoying the season this team is giving them.
I don't know, Bob. I just started this with the Celtics. Do you think their confidence is shaken at all?
No. I think they. I don't know for sure, but no, I don't.
No, as an observer, no,
I don't. I think they're. I think the coach, his attitude towards these 2 things: the big losses. The big lead blowns, and the
final 2 minutes.
Final 2 minutes. I think he thinks he's in control, and I think he's transmitted that. Yeah, but I don't think so. And I certainly don't think Jaylen Brown has lost any confidence in any way. That's for sure. And I wouldn't think that Holiday or White or Jason shouldn't. But the pressure's on Jason. He's ultimately got to play an MVP level for them to get this job done. All the time, not just some of the time. So. Well, I don't think so, but I think the guy there that can keep them honest is Jaylen Brown. And I think he's an eternal, forthright person. So, that's all. I'm not too worried about it. And then there's Big Brother Al. I'm glad to have him around too.
Right, exactly. All right, Bob. Enjoy Phoenix.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to it, of course, and the men's tournament, it's still going on too, folks.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, which everybody thinks it's UConn a foregone conclusion, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. Brought to you by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Until next time, Bob, Ryan, and Gary Tanguay.